Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the build series on the Traxxas hauler. Doing this series a little bit different. I'm just doing shorter videos on individual mods, and then I will have some other running videos that will show all of the mods in action. So I figure it's a little bit easier for you guys to just check out one thing at a time, shorter video. I could be a little bit more concise and focused, and we're gonna try it this way. So check out my playlist if you want to see any other mods that I've done to this truck. I have a lot of stuff coming. I'm going to be doing a different custom bed. I have a lot of the CC hand parts coming, the headache rack, the roof rack, the grill, all types of, vents for the hood. And I want to eventually strip the paint off this body, do an interior. So I got a bunch of stuff planned here. I did just do some silicone inserts in the tires. I have a video on that. But in this video, we're gonna focus on stability of this truck. So in stock form, this truck really swayed around a lot when you have something like a crawler. And that's exactly what I bought this truck for, is to haul something like a comp crawler or a class 1 crawler up to my crawling spot so I can have fun pretty much on the trail all the way up to the crawling spot and not just carry a rig up and then back down. So. But what I noticed was it was really unstable when you add a lot of weight up high on the rear. So doing a couple different mods, this one in particular is going to be focused on the sway bar. This I'll link up down below. It is a $10 sway bar off of Amazon. You see these pretty much all over the place. It is typically listed as an axial bomber or wraith sway bar, and it fits on here perfectly. These are all the stock links that come with it, the stock arms, the stock torsion bar here, comes with some spacers. So let me just get this truck propped up on its side and I'll show you guys exactly how I went about this. It was easier for me to remove this Lexan panel from the bed, so I removed some side screws here, all on this side. This whole side rail pops off. Then I removed all the screws from the top deck here. Your wheel chocks can stay on there, of course. You know, you got 2 up here, all these flathead screws that are going down. And then this whole deck comes up and off, and it gives you full access to the area here where we need to drill 2 holes. So I didn't drill through the chassis. I had seen other guys do sway bars on their truck, and they had drilled through the chassis. That was my initial plan, and then I was like, wait, why am I going to go through all that trouble? Right up here, this whole support here for the bed, this is a very tall, but pretty thin, but very rigid section of plastic. And I just drilled through that. And it was so much easier, and it works great. And then you're not left with a hole in your chassis if you ever want to remove the sway bar or whatever. It's a very simple way to do it. Let me get this truck turned on its side and I'll show you guys. So here we have a better view. And I'll show you guys the action here. So it comes with these links. They just go right down to the top of the axle here where your top suspension link mounts. And I did have to use a longer screw. I believe that screw is, let me get a measurement here. It's an M3 button head screw. It is a 25 millimeter long screw. Now I did put a few washers under the head of the screw because on this side, the screw comes through and it hits this angled portion of the rear axle. So it's kind of hard to see, but you don't want to drive it completely into that. It's just gonna get all jammed up. So, I mean, realistically, like a 22 millimeter screw, but you could either take a 25 and grind it down a little bit or cut it, which is a pain, or just put a few, I think I have like 3 washers under here and it's perfect. The other side, you can see how the screw is sticking out a little bit. Not a big deal. Maybe I can get away with, I feel like a 20 might be a little short, so I'd rather just keep it a little bit long, but no big deal. I did say that I used some different spacers, but I'm realizing right now I have 2 5 millimeter black aluminum spacers on here, but I ended up with 4 5 millimeter spacers that came with it left over. So you can just use, and it works out perfect, use all of the plastic spacers that come with this, because that's what's here in the back. And how this fits is, on one side, you're going to use 1 of the largest spacers, 2 of the thinnest spacers, and then 2 of these medium length spacers. And just do the same on either side, and you're going to end up with the correct spacing for this side to side, right? And that's just to keep this sway bar from moving back and forth. I didn't do anything in the center. It doesn't need it. Everything is fine. Let me show you guys some measurements here so you know kind of exactly where to drill the hole on here. I did it, look, you could probably move this a couple millimeters either way. I kind of did this so that I would have clearance where this is moving up and down. It's not going to hit into anything. You'll see here I'm running, you mount the links to the inside of this just so they stay kind of straight up and down. But it comes with a little taper head screw that fits in here, and the nut would go on the inside. At first, I wasn't sure on the length of these. I ended up shortening them a little bit, but I was afraid that it was going to hit into this chassis brace here and this screw. So I just ran the screw from the backside and put the nut on the outside. It just gives you a little clearance if you do have to drop this down more. But honestly, it doesn't matter now because you see there's plenty of clearance back there. So let me show you guys. And I did it, I drilled this hole here just so I would have enough space up here. And then I could still use all three of these mounting points here. So I just had it in the center position for this initial run. If you run it in the end here, you're going to get less of an effect. It's going to have more leverage over the torsion rod, so it's going to be less stiff. If you run it in the innermost position, it's going to stiffen it up even more. So I found I had really good results with it in the center position. I don't know if it's going to be a drastic, noticeable difference between these, but it might be worth experimenting with in the future, but I'm pretty happy with it in the center there. So let me show you guys where I drilled the hole here. Okay, so we're looking at about, and again, if you're a millimeter off on this, it's not going to make a huge difference. You'll just have a slightly different angle on this. It's not a gigantic thing, but you want to get fairly close to this. So this is 33 millimeters from the center of this screw to where I drilled the hole here, right? So what I did with the bed off, it was much easier. I actually held I measured over, I marked it, and I held this ruler down from the top, and it sits on, you'll see there's like a little edge here. It's the same thing on the bottom of that. And the ruler, perfect example, just sat right there, and I could use this as like a square edge, and you'll see where I drew the line here. So I just drew a pencil line on here. Then I took, because I wanted to get the height of the hole, I wanted this to sit down low like that, so it would be supported by that bottom channel as well. So I just held a spacer down against that bottom channel, and I made sure that the line was going through the center of the hole, and then I just drew a little, I used one of the thinnest spacers because it was easier to make a mark with a pencil. I made a mark there, and then I just took a 1/8 drill bit, and just very simply just boop, drilled a little hole in that side, measured the other side, did the same thing, and fed it does come with two of these. So I fed one through, and then there's a set screw on either side here. Like I said, you do your spacers. So you're gonna use the largest white spacer, 2 of the medium white spacers, and 2 of the thin white spacers on either side. So you're using all the spacers that come in the kit. These I have set to, you can see just maybe 1 thread sticking out on either side. When you go to assemble these, 1 is reverse thread, so just make a note of that. So just tighten these up until you get about one little thread sticking out on each side, and it ends up being fairly level here. When you install this little grub screw here that sits against, so you can see it sits against the flat here on the rod so that this doesn't twist independent of the other side. Just make sure you use some Loctite on this or it will come loose on you. So be aware of that. And that is it. That's the whole thing. And it really makes a noticeable difference. You might not. So you can see here a little sneak preview of the upcoming running video. It's very stable, still gets nice articulation. I'm very happy with how this turned out. That'll do it, guys, for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.